Oh, wrong camera. There we are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Hanging with Hobo live. And let's turn the comments on for you that want to see them. There we go. So, hope everybody's had a good week. It's been a productive week. Not so much for lasering. I did get finished designing the wine box that I wanted to design, and I've got it up on the website. It went up earlier in the week, but that's what the camera was just showing is my version. And this down here says wine 30. Wine 30, but you can showcase the bottle here. It doesn't have all the living hinges on it, so it's really easy to cut out. It's really quick to assemble, and it just can showcase your ability and your artwork, whatever you want to put on there. This artwork is included with the design, but the design I'm going to show you here in a second has for the few people who have already downloaded it, they're like, I don't understand what you did. And that's because you ain't living in here, and in here gets really confusing sometimes. I have 3 layers for this box, 2 different cut layers and an engraved layer. And the difference between the 2 engraved or the 2 different cut layers is the kerf. And I know a lot of you already understand kerf. Some of you might still be struggling with how kerf does what it does when it does what it does. And we're going to go into it with some visual representation so you can see what's happening with your laser when you add kerf. And I'm going to show you how I create those visual simulations so you can recreate it on yours and you can see it and go, and maybe then you can go, oh, now I get it. Light bulb. So let's see here. I'm actually doing pretty good with the back right now, Ter. I've gotten a really good regimen going on pain control, and that's doing some exercises, walking, a lot of walking, and margaritas. Right now, I seem to have gotten the whatever it was, if it was inflamed or swollen or whatever the disc, it has calmed down quite a bit. The only time I get pain now is if I cough or I have a really deep cough or a sneeze, and that when those lower back muscles and the abdomen muscles contract, feels like somebody stabbing me right in the back. So the problem's not gone. I'm just doing a real good job on mediating the pain without taking any pain meds. So thank you for asking. We are doing better. Still hadn't made any headway with any MRI, but I talked with my brother and he said that his clinic could get it done for me on a cash pay for about $640. So that's an option. And then if I did do it in a cash pay and then I exposed a problem that did need the insurance company then to step in, I'd be smacking somebody around, be reimbursed for that. So, but right now we're good. We're good. All right. So I'm going to show you first a representation of the actual wood. I've actually, I did this in Lightburn. Oh, wrong camera again. Let's go back and switch here and here. There we go. So I've cut these pieces out. I did this before we went live. And they have a piece with some tabs and a piece with some slots. There you go. There's the slots. There's the tabs. And then these internal slots.
Now, the internal slots are where I do a different layer for internal slots. And people are like, I don't understand why it's necessary. Well, I'm going to show you why. It's not necessary, but it sure does make assembling your projects a whole lot easier. And let's now look at the physical pieces I cut out. Now we can go to that camera. So this piece and this piece, they have no kerf added to them whatsoever. That's what that engraving there says, no kerf and no kerf. I haven't sanded these or anything. They just come straight off the laser bed, and there's no kerf involved. And if I take the tabs and try to insert them on these slots, they fall right in there, no problem. And if I let go, it falls right apart. That's with no kerf whatsoever. They fit, they line up, they look good. They do exactly what you want them to, but they won't stay in place. That's zero kerf. That's just cut out, the laser cut out. And now for the internal pieces, same thing. If I take here, I can line them up, and she will eventually get in there. I'm trying to look at the camera and look at the screen and look at the pieces. There we go. All right, so there. Those are lined up. You don't see any light through there. They're good and tight. Not. So that's no kerf. These are and if you don't know what your kerf is for your laser, I have a really good video that I'll find the address for and share here in a minute. It's finding your perfect kerf. And that for you, if you're still struggling with what kerf is, that video goes into big detail on understanding your kerf. And then not only just understanding it, but finding your perfect kerf. And for my laser, using the 10-watt Rolly, it's on average, it's a 0.12 millimeter outward kerf is my perfect kerf. And that's what I did here. These two were cut out with, it's the same exact image. In fact, if we go over to Lightburn and you look, oh, that's not Lightburn, Lightburn. These are identical. You can stack these one on top of the other. The difference is when you go into your cuts and layers and you look here, right here is where you put in your kerf offset. And my kerf offset, my perfect offset is a 0.12 outward kerf. And putting that in that field will tell the laser to move outside the design 0.12 millimeters to account for the kerf of the laser. And when you do that, where these, again, no kerf, and I put them together, they just fall right apart. All right. These are my 0.12 kerf, and I'm going to take these, and that's not even fully attached. You see the gap there? There you go. See the gap between the top and the bottom, but yet it's snug. And I can press that on together, or I can use my handy dandy mallet and tap it together and make sure it's, and that ain't going nowhere. There's no glue there. There's no nothing. That's just the kerf holding it together. Now, in here, this is cut with the same 0.12 outward kerf. So these have got a 0.12 millimeter outward kerf on them. And let's see here. Actually, let's see if I can pull this apart because I want to show you the difficulty here. All right. So if you cut your entire design out with that 0.12 outward kerf, and you had pieces that you have that outward kerf of 0.12 on these external tabs, and they need to go in these internal slots, you might get them in there, but you're going to have to hammer, or you can sand them. And that's what I used to do. Is I would take the tabs and sand them down a little bit, and then they would fit in there. But that's more work, and I didn't want to do that. So I figured out what I had to do to make it work without any kind of sanding or prepping. So these two are the 0.12 outward kerf, and I'll put the outer tabs back together. And now that is that 1-2? Yep. Now I've hammered them together. They're a little bit loose, the friction, but even there, the friction still holding them. But here is a 0.06. Now this is where people get really confused. This is a 0.06 inward kerf. We're going outward on the other cuts to compensate for that kerf where the laser's cutting it off. But these, I went with a 0.06 inward kerf. And that's why people they're like, wait a minute, I don't understand. And that's what we're going to show you. But I wanted to show you the physical part first. So the 0.06 inward kerf. In fact, let me just pull these apart. Here we go. Again, they are tight, but not too tight that they won't go together. There you go. So there, 0.06 inward kerf. No glue, and it's tight as a bug in a rug. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to bring you over here to Lightburn, and I'm going to show you that these are, in fact, identical. The only difference between each of these layers, or the pieces, is the layer they're on in Lightburn and the kerf that's assigned to each layer. Then I'm going to show you how you can create a visual representation so you can see exactly what's happening with each layer. So you can go, if you don't get it right here in the stream, you can play with it and you can see it and go, okay. So Lightburn switch. So when I created this one, I'm going to duplicate it and bring it over here. All I did was just say duplicate it, bring it over, put that on the next layer, duplicate that and bring it over and put it on the blue layer. So they're all identical. Every one of these, these are all the same. I didn't do that on the blue layer. I only did the internal slots on the blue layer down here. So these are all identical. And the only difference is that kerf setting in Lightburn. And to show you what that does when you do what you do, if I do the same thing over here, if I create a square, it doesn't matter how big or how small, I'm going to put that on the first one on the black layer. But what I'm going to have to do is if I grab this right now and go to preview, you see a perfect square, and that's what you expect to see. But if I put this one on a layer that's got the kerf, this has got a 0.12 outer kerf on it, and we look at the preview, you can't tell any difference. So in order to see what Lightburn's doing, you need to set up some fixed points around a square that has no kerf so you can identify where the original size was. So let's do that. So if I come back in here and I grab my pencil tool and I just come right here to that corner, hold shift and draw out a straight line, bring it way on beyond it, and then select it, put it in the center. There we go. And then I'm just going to rotate it around that square for not an offset. Rotate it. There we go. And do 4 times. Now, okay. Now I need to put those lines on the black layer because that has no kerf on it whatsoever. All right. And if I now select this entire piece and preview it, if I right there, it's like, okay, I can't really see anything. Well, if you zoom in tight enough, you will. There's the kerf. That's a 0.12 millimeter outward kerf. It's moving the laser outside the original dimensions. Now, let's see here. I'm going to turn off the black. No, let's see. Did I only have the one red square on there? I think I did. Yeah, only one. All right. So go back. Oh, I duplicated it. Didn't want to do that yet. Delete that. Put that back in here. Oh, let's group all of them. Those are grouped. All right. Now I can put that in the center of that. Put it there. All right. Now I want to see all 3 of those layers and how the different kerfs are going to relate to one another. So if I grab that square and duplicate it and put that duplicate on the black layer, and actually I don't even need to do blue layer for this. Now I've got those 2 in there, and with those lines around the perimeter, it's going to look exactly the same. If I go back, because there's 2 squares there now, but because that one is hemmed in by those outer lines, you can't see it. So there's your 0.12 outer kerf. Now, if I put an internal slot in here and I put it on the cut layer, and actually, you know what? I'm going to duplicate that and put it on the black layer. So there's 2 squares here now. There's one on the black layer and one on the red layer. And now when I, come on, zoom, where'd my zoom go? There it is. If I select all this and go to preview, and we come in here real tight, you see how you got 2 different squares here? And if you're like, okay, well, which one's which? What's doing what? Well, you can do the same thing. Just come over here and draw you a straight line down the side of it. Put it in the center of it. Then rotate that. Well, now because we're not a square, you can't rotate it. Well, you can rotate it twice instead of 4 times. That'll put them there. And then I'll draw one up here. Put that in the middle. Well, come on. There we go. And duplicate it, put it at the bottom. So now when I do that, you'll be able to see the original. All duplicates on some layer. Well, I didn't mean to do that. Show me. Yeah, I meant to put one on the black layer. So let's turn off the black. I got 2 reds. Let's put one of them on the black layer. There we go. And turn the black back on. And now preview. One shape or duplicates on the same layer and not likely to show me. All right. Just delete it. Let's see if I've got, maybe I had 2 duplicates on there. Let's go preview now. Yeah, that worked. All right, so now you can see where those intersect. That was the original piece. And this is still doing a 0.12 outward kerf. 0.12 outward kerf, but you can see there in that particular instance, it's coming inside those lines. Now, if we look at the big picture, this is just the black and the red layer. If we look out here, you can see this came outside the original piece, 0.12 millimeters. But when we come in here and look at this piece, it came inside 0.12 millimeters, but technically that is outside that slot. All right, are you completely confused yet? Here's the problem with that. The problem with using that same kerf on an internal, and I call it internal slot, when it's in the middle of the wood. If it's around the perimeter, it's never a problem. But when you're doing an internal slot and you try to use your perfect kerf, your kerf is condensing all four sides of that slot. And that's why it gets a little bit more difficult to fit together, because you're not only allowing or you're adding material for the kerf of the laser cutting off, but in this instance, this from the width of it from left to right, that's the thickness of your material. If this was 3.3 millimeters, that's your material thickness. Well, it's coming inside there, 0.12 millimeters here, and then coming inside over here, 0.12 millimeters. That's 1/4 of a millimeter. And that's why you have to sand those tabs down in order to get those to slide together. So I don't do that because I'm lazy. I used to do it, but now I'm like, I got a better way to do it and not have to sand them to get them to fit. You cannot change the kerf to where it only affects two sides of that rectangle, that slot. It's always going to be on all four sides. And this is where this only applies to the internal slots. Only. And because we're going to be putting these on a separate layer, and on my designs, they're on the blue layer. And you're going to send that to the laser, and it's not, whether it's grouped or whatever. When you send that job out, it looks at that laser and says, okay, here's a blue rectangle, and it's wanting to have kerf. And if you tell it to do outward kerf, because it does not recognize it as being inside of the red layer, because they're separate layers, it's going to move that kerf to the outer perimeter of that blue rectangle. And that's why you have to use inward kerf to create the correct outward kerf you want for your design. So let's see here. Well, good. I'm thank you. I'm glad you understand. And like I said, once you see it, and once you're able to create those, you've got the fixed lines where that's the actual dimension, and then you see when you add kerf and you see what that laser is doing, moving in and like, got it. What happens if you moved the rectangle to split the outer edge of the square, which which way will the kerf go, inside or outside? Because the part inside is, all right. Which way will the kerf go, inside or outside? Because part is inside and part is outside. If you're talking about putting it on the line, I don't know. No. We'll look at that though. That's a good, I think I understand your question. It's about as clear as mud, but I think I understand your question. if we put it half in the square and half out the square, what does it do? And that'll be, I'm curious. We'll find that out. But I'm not going to chase that squirrel's tail just yet. I want to finish this. But that's a good question. I'm curious myself. And Chris says it won't change as it is set in the layer and not, but no, it is yeah, it's set by the, but what if it's on the same layer, Chris? I see what you're saying. If I left it on the blue layer and told it to do an inward kerf, it's still going to do an inward kerf if it's half in or half out. But if they're both on the red layer and it's half in and half out, what's it going to do? So yeah, we'll check that out in a minute. If it's half in or half out, it could be a tab or slot if you welded it together or subtracted it. But if you didn't do either, if you just left it as a rectangle, half in and half out, I'm curious to see what Lightburn would do with the kerf command. So we'll go look at that in a minute. But I want to show you the adding the blue layer here and doing the, and why you can't do, well, you've already seen why you can't do, well, actually, let's go look at it. Let's go back to Lightburn, because I don't want to get lost chasing squirrels before I get my complete thought process across. So if I grab, let's see, let's turn off the black layer. Is there only one of these? Yes, let's duplicate it and put it on the blue layer. And if we go look at the blue layer is set up to do a 0.06 inward kerf. Now, my perfect kerf is a 0.12 outward kerf. Here I'm doing a 0.06 inward kerf. Half of my perfect kerf, but I'm doing it inwards instead of outwards, and you're getting ready to see why. So we come, my mouse keeps falling asleep. There we go. All right, let's turn that back on. And now, yeah. I can just do, no, I can't do just that. We got to get everything so you can see all of them. All right, and preview, and then we'll zoom into that. All right, so there, now you can see two different kerfs. Here is the original size, and this one in here is the 0.12 outward kerf of the red layer. This one is the 0.06 inward kerf of the blue layer, because the blue layer is all on its own, just that one rectangle. So when I do inward kerf, it's bringing it inside that blue layer, which is the same thing as doing the outward kerf of the red layer that's also inside this red layer. So it's coming outside this red, and it's coming outside this red, because it's recognizing that as a whole piece. So in order to get it, the kerf to go into this move in the same direction with the blue layer, you have to tell it to do inward kerf in order to get it to do that. Now you see it's still moving all four sides of that kerf. Oh boy, there's that pain. Oh. But that makes putting those slots together so much easier. You don't have to sand on the wood to get the tabs to fit right, but they're snug, they're tight, and they'll stay in place as you're doing your assembly until you can. And a lot of times when you've got those inner slots, it's when you're putting dividers in maybe a box or something, and you need them to stay in place as you're putting the other two sides in. So if they're loosey-goosey with no kerf at all, now you're needing an octopus in order to put the box together, because you got to hold all these sides. And so kerf is your friend when it comes to assembly. All right, let's see here. Took me a while at the beginning as I did not realize that Lightburn automatically makes outward kerf to inward kerf on internal slots. Well, it's still outward kerf because Lightburn recognizes that you've got this solid piece. So it's going to go outside here. And then when you're cutting this in here, in order to, it says, okay, well, I'm cutting this out of a solid piece. So it needs to go outside. So it's technically moving it inside that shape, but it's still outer kerf. But when you put them on different layers, in order to get that movement, you have to tell it to do inward kerf. If your mouse keeps falling asleep, give it some cheese and coffee. All right. Okay. Now, just for grins and giggles, let's go and test that question about if it's half in and half out. What does Lightburn do? Now, this is serves no purpose whatsoever other than just pure curiosity. So let's turn off the black layer again. And let's grab one of these. That's the blue one. Let's get rid of it. And that's the red one. That's good. Turn that back on. And I want to get rid of that black one there. Now those are grouped. No, they're not. Now they're grouped. So I can put that back in here, put that in the center. All right. And this, how many squares have I got? That's black. I'm going to get rid of that one. And that's just the red. All right. Now, if I take this and put it half in and half out, and the red layer is set to do a 0.12 outward kerf. And I'm going to select the whole thing and preview it. And we're expecting that to go outside the boundary, and it did. Let's see what it does down here. It goes outside the boundary. So the minute that crosses the line, you can see that's outside. Now, if we bring that just inside, and you look at that whole thing again, that's going outside the boundary, and that's coming inside the boundary. So the minute it crossed over, it automatically all become outward. Well, it went outside the boundary. It was always outward. It's outward, period. But the minute that inward slot crossed over the outer constriction area there, it then no longer recognized it as an internal piece and put it outside that rectangle. You just rotated my brain 180 degrees in its stem. Well, I hope you're not in any discomfort. And I hope that's a good thing. I hope that means you've learned something there. So now that we've got that done, let's say okay. File, new, discard, open, recent, open. Come on, recent. Come on, recent. It's a brand new battery. It can't be the battery going dead in this mouse. Gift box done. All right. Inner and outer is relative to the starting node and the direction of travel. And okay. All right. Well, just since you made that clear, I'm curious about something else. But let's go over here to Lightburn and turn off Chris there. All right, so this is the file that you download if you wanted that particular gift box. And now you can see why people were giving me questions. Why the different layers? Why you got the slots and on a blue layer with this? And I've got all three set up with my 10-watt settings that I use for my engraving and my cutting. But these are the engraving, and I did a 0.05 on that one instead of 0.06, and that was because of the material that I was using. And then a 0.11 again because of the material that I was using. Because that's another thing too. You can find your perfect kerf, and then you go to use a different material and it doesn't fit the same. Well, that's because the laser burned through that material differently. You may find you'll have different kerfs for different types of material. The thicker it is and the more passes you got to put through it and the more burning that's taking place, every time you pass that laser through there, it might cause it to smolder just a little bit more, even on the areas that's already cut, and your kerf gets a little bigger. Or if it's real thin, you may find that it gets a little bit smaller. No, wait a minute. This ain't a new battery in this mouse. It's a new batteries in the keyboard. I just got a new keyboard, and those are new batteries. I didn't change the battery in the mouse. It might just be the battery, but yeah, when I change the battery, I'll clean the terminals too. So I'm curious about what Chris pointed out. So let's go back over here. And actually, Chris, you say that it depends on the origin node, and you don't see nodes on the rectangle. It's a shape, not a path. So you have to convert it to a path in order to see the nodes. But I guess technically there's nodes there, you just can't see them. So let's go back over here. So if I draw out a square, come on. All right. If I look at that and I go to nodes, like I say, you don't see nodes. You don't see an origin node or any node. So you convert it to a path. Come on. Then show your nodes. All right. So that node is on the outer perimeter. And I'll need to all right. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to take a minute and change these batteries. I think I got batteries right here. Let's see. This thing's driving me nuts. Yep, I got a battery in here. And it's been a while. But somebody said, "Oh man, that's driving me nuts. Man, that's driving me crazy." If they're familiar with golf, or if they're a golfer, so that's not a drive. That's a short walk. All right. Put that back in there. All right, let's try that. Okay, what's CCC? What's Chris saying? Chris, I have a kerf tester file with adjustment of kerf by 0.01 for each side of test. Yes, for testing each material. So yeah, not such a long drive. Yeah, not a long drive, and you don't need to drive. You can use butter for that. All right. So now let's go back over here and create a boundary. Okay. So now that's set, and this let's put it on the outward. That's 0.12 outward. That's 0.12 outward. All right, and now if that's origin node was down here at the bottom, and if we leave it inside and we go look at the preview, is set to field. Oh, I got that's fine. Continue. Well, it just didn't show them. I got to change that to line. There we go. All right, so that's inward that come inside, but it's actually an outward kerf because it's going to the outside of that shape, and that shape is being cut from the inside of that square. But now if we put that half in and half out, let's look at that preview. And it's taking it outside of the boundary. And Chris said that the origin node and direction of laser cut determines where that's going to go. So if I move this corner and rotate it up to here, then it should bring it inside the boundary. Let's see. Rotate it once, twice, and test that out. And no, it's still outside. So now that I didn't see the origin node there making a difference, Mr. Chris. I think once it just recognizes that it's no longer inside that original big square, once it's no longer contained, it's going to go outside of that shape regardless. Oh, okie dokie. So, any questions? Did I Tara had some light bulb moments there, and I've seen a few numbers go up there, but any questions, or anybody lost? Anybody need to see something again, or anybody want to test something different? Y'all, you would have to change the direction of travel to see the difference. If I change the direction of travel, it would come inside that piece. And I don't know. I was playing with one of the release candidates that allowed me to change the direction of travel, but I'm using. I think that was 2.1. I think, and now I've went back to 2.0.05, and I don't think can you change the direction of travel with 2.0.05? I don't think I can. Because I don't see. Oh yeah, then yeah, it is. There it is, right there. Yeah, it is. All right. Set shape start point and reverse direction. Yes, 2.04. So there it is. I forgot that was down here. So this little button right here, this tool just above the radius tool, lets you set the shape's start point by shift and then shift click to reverse the direction. Control, come back there. Control click to reset default. Now, some of you have seen this before, and I've shown it many times. But when you see a new tool pop up like this, and you want to know exactly what it does when it does what it does, just hover over that and click F1, or is it just to see? Hover over that, and was it Shift F1? F1 not going to work for us on this one? I guess not. Let's see here, and F1. Is it not F1? Is it F? I thought it was F1. What am I doing wrong? Help. Yeah, F1. Was it F1 not telling it to open up the online documentation, Chris? I thought it was F1. All right. Let's see. What about on the left side of the main square? Oh, well, we'll try that too. But first, let's go over here and let's turn off the black layer so I can get just this one. And nope, there. Shift click to reverse direction. So shift click. And actually, you know what? Before we do that, and it wasn't the battery. My mouse is still going to sleep. And I've restarted the computer, so I don't know what's going on. Something's happening in the background. So I go to the preview and we look at, there you go. You can see it's going in a clockwise motion right now. So I'm going to come over here and hold shift click, or over that shift click. There you go. Now you can see it's going clockwise, and shift click. Now it's going counterclockwise. The arrow changed, showing it going. So there's hovering over that start node, shift click. Well, it didn't change it back. All right, but let's see if changing the direction brings it inside, or does it still stay outside? So preview, still stays outside. It didn't bring it inside the boundary. Huh. All right, let's see here. Can you use a negative kerf to change the placement? Yes, the negative kerf is how you change it to inward kerf. And I'm glad you brought that up, Jay. Good question. Oh, wrong button. Dum. All right. That's a perfect question, because I've been telling you on the blue layer, I use an inward kerf, but I didn't tell you how I got the inward kerf. If we come back over here and we look at those layers again, the black is engrave. Here it says it's inward, and the way you achieve inward kerf is by using a negative number. There it's got a negative 0.05. And if we come down to the red layer, it's outward kerf, and it's a positive 0.11. So a negative number will produce the inward kerf. Positive number gives you the outward kerf. I'm glad you asked that question, Jay. What was the shortcut keys you used to rotate? The greater than or less than. And if you look at your keyboard, some say comma period, because that's the main function of that key, is the comma period. But if you look at it, it's actually the greater than or less than also, and the greater than or less than points to the direction that it's going to rotate. So that's why I like to refer to it as use the greater than or less than button to rotate the figure selected, and it will rotate 90 degrees in the direction the greater sign is pointed in. And also, go back over here, close that, and we'll come over here. Let's select that. And if I do less than, it's going to rotate it 90 degrees. And if I hold shift and less than, it rotates it 45 degrees. And if I do control shift, it does an even smaller increment of rotation. It's not it's not 22. It's back. Let's see, it should be back to 0 again. Let's look and see. Come on. Yep, there's 0. So now let's do a control shift rotate and look at the angle. So it moved it 1.5 degrees by doing control shift and the less than. How about when doing a tab or slot joints where the slot isn't internal? I'm having to file down the width of my tabs to make them fit the slot. All right, then you don't have it sized correctly then. Because if your external slots and tabs, if one of them is proud, if you've got a tab that's sticking proud after you've put it together, then you've got your slots and tabs sized incorrectly. And that's an easy fix using the resize slots and selection tool in Lightburn. If it's just a little bit, then it could be a variation in your material thickness. But what you're describing there, if I understand you correctly, one of them is proud and you're having to sand them down. Well, that's just improper sizing of your slots and tools or your slots and tabs in the design itself. Does direction in Lightburn work like AutoCAD? Draw a box from left to right and draw a box from right to left. I don't know. I think I have played with that before to try and figure it out, and I don't know I got a process that's going on in my computer that's, in fact, well, I ain't gonna take a chance. We'll just keep going here. Let's look and see what we see when to answer Chris's question. I mean, Santa's question there. So if we draw from left to right, and then draw from right to gotta get a square. Draw from right to left. If we look at this one and that one, we drew from left to right and it's going clockwise. This one, we drew from right to left and it's going clockwise. So no, in this instance, it did not make a difference. I believe rotate 90 degrees is, yeah. I use like I said, the greater than and less than, just simply because they're physical arrows that point in the direction that they're going to rotate. And if it's a square, it doesn't matter. But if it's a different shape and you want to make sure that it's being, if it's an isosceles triangle and you want to rotate it, one specific way, you need to know, or do you need to rotate it to the left, clockwise or counterclockwise? So those point in the direction they're going to rotate. try control click. And I'm guessing that's, I think that's what I did. Oh, I did try the control. You tried the control click to change the direction. I tried that and it wasn't working. Shift click. Yeah. So it's weird. If I come over here and select that and I do shift click, you can see it's clockwise. Shift click changes it. And if I hit shift click again, it doesn't do anything. And control click, it doesn't do anything. And it says, let's draw out another square. And then look here. Control click to reset to default. So there is, in fact, I'm not going to hover over that node. I'm just going to hover anywhere over here. Shift click won't do anything. Shift click there. Oh, so there you noticed it changed the starting position from this node to that node by clicking on that node. And I'm doing shift click. And if I come over here and do control click, there we go. Control click will put it back to its original starting point, but it does not. It reverts back to its original starting point, but it does not revert back to its original direction, which I don't know why. It seems like at one time I had one design in 3 years that I was like, man, I sure do wish I could change the direction this thing. It was the spiral. I think the spiral was where I was wanting to be able to control the direction of the cut. But I've not run into an instant since that I've wanted to be able to control which direction the laser is cutting in. I'm sure that there is a reason, because Lightburn wouldn't put it in if it wasn't something someone asked for or they said, hey, this is a great idea. Let's see here. Control shift is 12.5. Well, it's not 12.5 degrees, Chris. I thought it would. Mathematically, you would think it would be, because just the click is 90, shift click is 45, and you thought that control shift would be half of that, or half of 45, or no. But I just seen it was 1.5 degrees. Because let's see here. Let's come back over here. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to hold shift and less than, and that's 90. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to hold control shift less than, and it just barely moved. But now I'm going to go back there, and now I'm going to do control less than. And there you go. Control less than is 12.5. Duplicate that and control. There you go. Or not 12. But a control shift is 1.5 degrees. So how many different functions are there? Duplicate that, control D, and do rotate. Or say rotate 90, you can't tell it with a square. So let's do this. Let's delete that, and let's make that not a square. Control D, duplicate it, and less than. It rotates at 90. Duplicate it and shift less than, rotates at 45. Control D, duplicate, control less than is moving it. I guess that's the 12.5. And then duplicate it, and then control shift less than. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different movements. using the keyboard, using the less than. Oh, I just went past something. There it is. All right. So AutoCAD uses different graphics engine in Lightburn, which is why direction did not change. What keys are you talking about greater than or less than? It's the greater than or less than. It's the keyboard, the period and comma key. If you look at your period and comma key and look at the two arrows above them, the symbol above the comma is less than, and the symbol above the period is greater than, and the greater than points clockwise, so it's going to turn clockwise. The less than is pointing counterclockwise, and it's going to rotate it counterclockwise. "12 and a half was meant to have a question after." Oh, okay. Yeah, no, but I'm still not 100%. I'm surprised Lightburn did not mention that in the nudge short they just released about the different rotation things. Don't know. I haven't seen their latest. I haven't been in Lightburn much this week. A lot of stuff going on here in the house and with Dad, and I haven't had the opportunity. I did get that wine box finished this week and got the design up online. Anyway, text on the spiral. Yeah, that's what it was, about wanting to change the direction. Exactly what it was, Terry, you were all over it, bud. That's exactly why I needed to do that. I wanted to change the direction of the text on the spiral, and in order to do that, I needed to change the origin or the direction, and that, yes. Cardboard cookie for Terry. Oh, all right. And I'm curious about that. I'm going to go back over here, and we're going to get rid of all of these. And let's start with this one. And if we get here and we look there, you can see the angle shows 0 degrees. That's perfectly flat. And this one should probably show 90, or no, it shows 180 rather. So this is 0. This is 180 because of the direction of rotation. It's starting here, and there's 0, and that one's coming down is 90, and that's 180, and then back up there is back to 360. So there's 0. So let's duplicate it. Control D, hold Shift and less than to do a counterclockwise rotation. And then when we look at that angle, it should be 45. And there it is, 45 degrees. Say okay. And now I'm going to come back to the original. Well, no, I'll do that one. Say Control D, and we'll do Control less than, and check that angle. There we are at 60 degrees. So that's a 15-degree movement. So if I come back to that original one, and that's actually how you could tell, Control D and then Control, there you go. That should show 15 now. There you go, 15 degrees. So Control and greater than or less than will move it 15 degrees. And if we come back to the original and duplicate it and do Control Shift less than, and then look at that angle, like I said, 1.5 degrees. 1.5 degrees. Okay. So no design work in this particular live. And unless we have more questions, we're running a little short on time. But I'm curious, do you appreciate streams like this, where we discuss how things do what they do when they do what they do? Uh, you know, not always, designing, but, getting into how certain tools work and how to get the most out of tools. And Dave says, yes, we got one. Yes. Okay. All right. Because I try to give y'all a good mix of stuff. We'll do some design work. We'll do some different, new tools that come out, but these are not new tools here. This is just getting a better grasp of what's happening when you tell it to do something. Let's toss a squirrel out there. Are those increments related to changing spacing, and settings? I don't know. If I understand what you're asking. You're talking about the control. Let me see. Let me go to see if this is what Chris is talking about. Chris, are you talking about if I come in here to my, let's take you off. Come in here to my movements, increments here. I don't think so, because no matter these, I'm changing all the time. These are always being moved around, and we'll put this one at 10 and put this one at 5 and put this one at 1 and say okay. And if changing those, duplicating that and doing a shift rotate, that's still 45. So if that's what you were asking, Chris, no, those movements or those measurements, those settings for your move increments do not control that. Those are fixed at 45, 15, and what were 45? I don't forgot what they were now. But no, that was a good question though. Squirrel. But no, it didn't change them. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad. You've been a mind reader on this topic. Drove myself crazy this week trying to make a simple slot and tab box with a removable top. Well, and that's what it was. Okay, yeah, and so that made no difference at all. And the Viper said a removable top. So this was I'm hoping you're saying yes, that this was a good review and a good refresher, and you're not asking me to go back and review everything I just did. Yeah, there you go. Good review. All right. Yeah. Yeah, because you can watch the replay. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I don't want to be someone who's, hey, look what I did. And you can do it too if you go buy my stuff. I like to show you every single step, how to do what I do, how to accomplish the same thing and get the same results without question, without fail. And sometimes it requires something like this so you can, like I said, people are, I don't understand why you got the slots on the blue when they all can be cut on the red. Well, there's a reason. There's a reason. Add a new cheat sheet. Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions about, and it doesn't have to be what we've talked about tonight. You got me for another 20 minutes if we need, or longer if we need. Anybody got any questions or problems? Are you planning on putting together monthly art? Yes, I am planning, but I got my hands full. I got my hands full. Um, I'm still living in the RV right now, but I've got to get moved in here. Uh, Dad fell in the house this week and split his head open sometime in the middle of the night while I was in the camper. And had I been here, I couldn't have stopped it, but I would have been aware of it then instead of, most likely I would have, instead of the next day. And, like I said, forehead split open. So I just got my hands full and trying to get everything done, trying to keep everybody happy. Yeah. Maybe having Lightburn let you change the angle selected, like it lets you select the distance you want to move the mouse when you. Yeah. I think they've got those increments so pretty well. Because if you're wanting to rotate at 30 degrees and you know that the one combination is a 15-degree rotation, you just do that combination twice. It's pretty good the way it is set up right now. I don't know about the 1.5 degree. I don't know that I would ever use that small of a rotation in a design. Usually the smallest I do is about a 10 degree rotation. How to and when do you convert to a path? Anytime, or how to and when. I do it anytime I need to see the nodes. And I'm node editing all the time. I love to pick my nodes. And anytime you create a shape using any of those shape tools on the left side of the screen, they do not have nodes. They are shapes and not paths. So, Mr. Ronnie, if I come up here and I grab a circle and I draw out a perfect circle, and I come over here and I need to do some node editing, when I click on my nodes, there are no nodes. If I come over here and I pick a pentagon and I draw out a pentagon and I go to node editing, there are no nodes. So in order to convert that to a path, either one of them, you select one or both and then right click and convert to a path, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Control Shift C for convert. But I just right click and then select it. And now when I go to node editing, you can see all of the nodes on those given shapes. Then I can start, moving my nodes around. But until a shape becomes a path, there are no nodes. So that's how you do it, and that's why you do it. Oh, no, let's see. Just use the rotate. That's another. Yeah. If you're wanting to do very specific increments, as Jay just said, you can do. Come back here. Let's get us a rectangle. And if you got that rectangle and you do a shift less than, rotate it 45, that's fine and dandy. Shift and back. But you know what? I don't want it to be 45. I actually just need it to be, 40. Well, then just select it and tell it up here. Now here, the negative and the positive matter in your rotate tool. If you wanted to rotate it counterclockwise, only 40 degrees, then you put in a negative 40 and it'll rotate it counterclockwise. If you want to rotate it positive or clockwise, you use a positive number, 40, and it'll rotate it clockwise. But here's the problem with using the rotate tool. Not the problem, but something you have to be aware of. Your anchor point, and in fact, let's see if it makes a difference in this. Your anchor point makes all the difference in the world when you use the rotate tool. But I don't think the anchor point come into play whenever we did the control and the arrow move. So let's go look. And to give you an idea, let's Control Z, put that back. All right, so now I'm going to take that and I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, duplicate it, and I'm going to put my anchor point in the bottom left corner, and I'm going to tell it to rotate it negative 40. It keeps that in that point. That point doesn't move, and it rotates it from there negative 40 degrees or counterclockwise 40 degrees. If I duplicate this one again and I come over here and put the anchor point in that bottom right corner and I tell it to rotate it 40 degrees, negative 40, the same thing, same value, it rotates it from that corner. All right, now let's take this and we're going to duplicate it and move it over. Where did it go? There, it went too far. All right. And now I'm going to, I won't be able to do it at 40. I'll do it at 45. We're going to duplicate it, Control D, and then Shift less than, and that rotates at 45. And now see, that rotated from the center, even though the anchor point was in the bottom right. Oh boy, them hurt. Oh boy, them hurt. So there's the difference between using the rotate tool and the control arrow. The control arrow will, or the shift arrow, control arrow, or the control shift arrow will always rotate from the center of your design, regardless where your anchor point's at. But if you start using the rotate tool, if you want to rotate it from the center, you got to make sure your anchor point's in the center of that grid up there. Come on. I did not notice how your priorities were set, but I think it would be best to have the internal slots cut. Yes, I always do internal cuts first. And that's because if you don't, depending on your setup, if you have some hold downs, it's got your material elevated off of the honeycomb, and you cut the outer piece first, and it drops. When it tries to cut that inner piece, it's going to be out of focus and potentially out of place. So always set your priorities up. If you go into optimization settings, cut inner shapes first, right here. Turn that on. Cut inner shapes first to make sure that you cut those inner pieces out and they fall away. Then you can come back and cut out your outer piece. But yeah, that's a very, very good point to bring up, Tom. Always cut your inner pieces first. No nodes and primitive shapes from the menu. Goes back to graphics engines used. Yeah. What does bitmap do? Don't know. Convert to a bitmap. And what Ed is asking about, and I've seen it, I've never used it. Oh, and then Chris answered, converts it to an image from a vector. And yeah, Yeah, I've never messed with that. Ba, 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 ba. Come on, mouse. When you have a rectangle and rotate it, your measurement change is there, and rotate it. Your measurement change, is there a way to see what the size is besides the measurement tool? If I know what you're asking. When you have a rectangle and you rotate it, if you're asking about how to tell what angle it is, the only way I know to do it is with the measurement tool. But if you're talking about the actual size, uh, the your yeah, let's see what Chris is saying about what you asked here. Are you looking at size in the top menu and seeing it change there? Yeah, that's the boundary box, as he's talking about. That's what I was confused about. What exactly you were looking at? Because if we go back over here and we look at this, and you see that, in fact, it's that's unlocked, and we'll tell that to be 2.5 millimeters, and this is going to be 2 millimeters. All right, so there's 2.5 by 2. And if I duplicate it and then I rotate it 45 degrees, it shows that the height and width has changed. But what's changed is actually just these, if the gray squares that are around the perimeter, that's your boundary box or your bounding box. And from that corner to that corner is 3.182, and down to here is 3.182. It become a square. And if I were to duplicate that and rotate it 1.5 degrees, well, I'll go 3, 4.5, 6. There's 6 degrees. So now you can see after a 6-degree rotation, it's no longer square. Your bounding box is still kind of square shape, but that's so the dimensions of the rectangle haven't changed. Only the bounding box, those, and if you're not aware, the difference between the two framing tools in Lightburn, one will frame via the bounding box, which is the square frame, and then the circular frame, which is what they refer to as a rubber band frame, ignores the bounding box and will frame around the perimeter of the actual piece. So if I select this piece right here and then tell it to use this frame to frame it, it says it traces the cut boundary with the laser head. And then if I use this one, it's trace a rubber band boundary around with the laser head. So it would be like if you were to put a pin right there where that corner's at, and a pin where that one's at, and that one's at, and that one's at, and then you ran a string around all those pins. That's what that framing tool is going to do. It's going to chase that string from corner to corner to corner. But when you use this outer framing, it's going to go, no matter what this shape is or where it's at, it's going to go from outside corner to outside corner to outside. So I always, because a lot of times I'm using my skeletons, and when you're using skeletons, you want to use your rubber band frame because it's going to show you where that piece is going to cut from. If you use the bounding box framing on a skeleton, it may look like it's not going to fit, but half of what it's framing, there's nothing there. It's just space. And there you go. I almost always use the rubber band frame because I'm almost, not always, but a lot of times I'm using skeletons. So I use rubber I use a rubber band frame most of the time. Um, Cutting from scrap. That's what I mean by my skeletons. And Chris is saying he's using his camera for that. And I don't even have my camera hooked up anymore. And when I first got my laser, I would love to have a camera. Man, I'd love to have, man, I want to get a laser with a camera. I even tried to hook up a camera like, Clack has done several where he puts cameras on lasers that didn't come with them, puts cameras on open gantry lasers and stuff. But once I got a laser with a camera and realized how impractical it is for precision work, I use the laser on when framing so that I can see exactly where the laser is going to cut. And I will, check it as it's framing to make sure it's going to be within the material area I need it to be in. And if you are one who does, let's get rid of this and new discard. If you are one that does work with a lot of skeletons, I've talked about this before. There it is. You need to create you a library that's called skeletons and start saving your material that you have left over. Here, I've got a skeleton for my red 12 by 19 MDF. I've cut these particular pieces out of that. And now if I want to go grab that skeleton, I can come here and just double click it and make sure it's all grouped and send it to the home position. And there's actually a piece cut out over here that I forgot to save. So all of this has been cut out of this material. This over here is good material. So I don't need a camera. I don't need anything. I've just dropped that skeleton right on my piece. And now I can start designing and put what I need to over here. If my mouse would work. And I can use, all of that. Oh, wrong button, dummy. I can use all of that area to cut out a piece and design with and duplicate that, bring it down here and rotate it. And all of that area is good material. I don't need a camera. I don't even need to frame anything. I've got it. I've got the saved skeleton. I know exactly what material is. Put it on the laser, design, go to work, cut it out. Don't even have to check it. The optimization settings do not override the cut layer order. Cut layer order. I've not had a problem where when I've got that turned on, my inner shapes always cut out first. I'm trying to think of a scenario where I could have that turned on and something else overrides it. It says these are optional and can be reordered. Enable optimization and output by reordering. And then go to the layers. Okay. Now I understand your comment. So I think what Tom is talking about. Yes. All right. In fact, let's go back to my box. Discard. All right. So here I've got my cuts and layers order by priority. I've got my engraving doing first, and then I want to do these inner pieces first. That's the inner slots. And then it's doing the outer cuts. But if I were to have all of the blue layer actually on the red layer, so now I've only got black and red. Right now, it's going to engrave first. Then when it gets ready to start cutting, it's going to come down and start cutting, but it's going to go cut those inner shapes first, then cut the outer shape. But it's not going to cut the inner shapes first, then go do the engraving, and then come back and cut. It's so your priority on your your layers, and you can change that in your optimization settings too. So I've got, order by layer and then by priority. So layer first and then by priority. So layer is the black on top, that gets cut first, then down to second, and the priority is where I've got here additional options cut on. Now it's going to cut, yeah, like that. So no, I think I did understand what you're saying. If you put those, if you did this, if you had these, it's going to cut those inner layers first and then cut them out. Then it's going to drop down and try to do the engraving, which may or may not be lined up anymore because your pieces fell out. So you need to have your layer priority correct and then cut inner shapes turned on, and it will cut those out correctly. Then if you have, but if we were to put, in fact, let's just go back and say recent, discard. If I were to change this order and put it below, then it's going to engrave, then cut the outer, and then cut those inner pieces because I've got them in that priority of layers. And even though that's an inner shape, the layer priority takes priority over that other cut inner shapes. So it wouldn't come down here and recognize those are inner. In fact, if we look at it and go to the preview, we'll see it does the engraving, and then it does the outer cuts, and then it'll go do that inner cuts. I think that's what you were trying to point out there, Tom. Oh. Okie dokie, okie dokie. I just now seen your comment, and that's what I just would. Yeah, yep. That's what I think. That's what I thought you were talking about. Thank you. We got there. I can vouch for getting layer priority correct. I've made a lot of Yep, we got there. We got there. All right. My problem is that I can have everything in the correct order and the go tweak and then go tweak the cut layer, light burn, then on its own moves that cut layer to the first position, and it drives me. I've never had the layer move on me. This is my problem is I can everything in the right order, and then when you tweak the cut layer, light burn moves it up. Yeah, I've never had that happen, Jay. So if I understand what you're saying, is you have all of everything set up, and it's exactly the way. Let's see, go away. That would be down here, and then all you wanted to do was just go in here and change a setting and you say, oh, well, you know what, that actually needs to be 500, and you say okay. When you say okay, it's Lightburn is moving that to the top of your priorities. I've never had that happen. And see, reset default, make default for all. I'm trying to see if there's something that you could do that would tell it to do that. Oh, wait a minute. Chris has got a comment there. Chris says there was a bug where layer moved last worked on to the top position. Are you on an old version? Yeah, Jay, what version are you on? I move the object and the layer moves. Yeah, what Chris is saying there are some bugs there had to do with that. What version of Lightburn are you using right now, Jay? I had that problem. Maybe it's fixed now. Yeah. So if you're using I'm on 2.0.05. I really like what's coming in 2.1, but the last release candidate had too many bugs. I had to go back. But because I can't afford to buy a new computer right now. Yeah, 2.0. Yeah, and I'm really happy with how 2.0.05 has been working. So and you probably haven't seen that issue since you've updated and you have experienced it in the past. And as Chris said, that was a bug in some other versions, but it seems to be addressed. All right, boys and girls, I'm going to call it. You've had me here for 90 minutes, 97 minutes. I've enjoyed tonight. I always enjoy spending time with you guys and gals. We learn from each other. If you are not aware, and I'm you know what? Hey. See, I'm terrible about this. I am terrible about Chris says Horizon Corner still have not worked out why anything past 1.7 won't work on this computer. Well, you talking about? He looks like he's. Are you pointing at me? What are you saying there, Chris? It looks like you got an arrow pointing at me. Says I'm crying in the corner. Still have not worked out. Well, I'm good on 2.0.05. But anyway, y'all go over while we're here. I want y'all to confirm for me. We got last week's bug fixed. Go over to hobowithwood.com, log in, and then go down there and click on the My Account. And okay, so no, it shows me crying. Oh, okay. The arrow's pointing at you. I was okay. All right, go to hobowithwood.com, log in, and I'm on. Hobowithwood.com. It's no longer a blue button, it's now a red button. It says My Account. If you're logged in, well, whenever you hover over it, it turns blue. Click on it, and it should take you here to where you have your profiles and all your subscriptions and all that. And you can click on subscriptions, and that's where you should see your. There you go. So Tara says the page works now. Okay, and a couple of else of you go and try it. Let's see here. My mouse. I'll tell you what. And Nipa says Kerf is my kryptonite. No, I tell you what. You'll if in fact if you haven't watched it, go over to YouTube and I'll get the link and drop it in the comments here for us all. go away. I don't want any of that. Just go away. Stupid. All right, now YouTube Studio and search perfect kerf. Find your perfect kerf. And it's only a 30-minute video. And I'm going to get the link to it right here. And then I'm going to come down here and post it in the comments. All right. So Chuck's acknowledged it's working. Chris acknowledged it's working. Good. All right. I'm still working on the website. I still got one more thing I've got to get working that's not working yet, but we're still working on it behind the scenes. And Chicago Bob says not working. If you clear your cache, that's what they've all saying. Clear your cache and it should load, because right now it may be loading from your cache and it's loading a previous version of that site instead of a new site or new working. But NEPA, if you haven't watched this, finding your kerf on any diode laser, it's only 30 minutes, but that will walk you through and explain. And if you still have questions after watching that on kerf, you holler at me. We've done it before, and I'll do it again. Me and you'll get online one-on-one, and we'll walk you through it. I'll hold your hand until you got it down pat. You'll just say, got it. But I put that link to that in the comments there. But I'm still working on making the members only page interactive. Right now I can post on it, but you can't comment on it, and it doesn't work the way that I want it to. And that's why I've not been that active on it, because I need to get it working correctly. And I don't want to have to, once I get it working correctly, I may end up having to go and transfer anything I've already put out there into the new page, whatever. So I want to get it working 100% before I really start loading that page up. So if you are not a member on hobowithwood.com and you enjoy these live streams, I need you to go over to hobowithwood.com and become a member. Gold, silver, or bronze. There's 3 different tiers. You do get discounts on all of the digital files. Each tier is reflective of the amount of discount versus the membership you select. You have the option of paying monthly or annually. But hobowithwood.com and go become a member. Be sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Let's see. Any last questions or comments? I'm curious, Bob, were you able to clear your cache and get it to work? Yeah, it's good because as you said, kerf is kerf. It doesn't matter if it's laser or if it's a radial arm saw. If it doesn't matter if it's a diode or a CO2, the kerf is what's cut away from whatever your cutting implement is. But yeah, that video will help you understand and fully embrace kerf. And if you can do 2 things in Lightburn, the 2 things that you can really focus on and get a really good grasp on to make your designs and your designing so much more comfortable, efficient, all these other things. If you can fully embrace node editing and how to manipulate your kerf, your designs are going to be so much better, and especially in your boxes. Once you get your kerf dialed in, assembling your boxes becomes one of the simplest things you can do. When you're not using any kerf and you're trying and you find yourself needing to have an extra set of hands to hold stuff together, that's not always possible. Oh boy. Uh I am no longer using Patreon. No longer using Patreon. Yeah, if you're still on Patreon, I'm not posting anything there. I still get any funds that go there because I've got 2.5, 3 years of videos out there telling people to go to Patreon. So I'm not going to take that Patreon down. But I will not be sharing or posting anything on Patreon. I'm wanting everybody to come over to the Hobo with Wood. And if we go to the Hobo with Wood, here is once you're logged in and you're a member, you can click on the members only page. And this is where I'm doing additional stuff for members only, where there's an art library. If you didn't get that one, there's the We're Nuts library. I did that one in January. I haven't done February, March, April, but these are videos that are just for members. No one else can see them. But I gotta get the interactive part worked out before I continue anymore here. Bob says, yeah, cleared the cache, but no joy in Mudville. I'll send you an email tomorrow after church and we'll see if we can get it work. It's got to be something either in your security settings, your cache. There are a couple of different ways you can clear the cache in if it's a PC. I don't know about Mac, but Google how to clear your cache. I know there's at least 2 different ways, and there different ways, different levels of clearing your cache. But once you get it completely cleared and it's not loading from a previous page, it will come in and work, because it's not going to work for all those other people and selectively just not work for you because it's something wrong with the website. It has to be something to do with your PC settings and or your cache. Either security settings forcing it, it recognizes, hey, we've seen this page, so I'm not pulling in a new page from the server. And without doing that, you're not seeing the update. And yeah, and browser also might, need to restart and clear your cache. So yeah, but you'll get it. Yeah, but now, because now I see that it's working for majority here, it's working for everybody. When did you start billing grandfather members? As soon as you sign up. I don't control the billing. Are you currently now a member, Sam? Mm-hmm. Log in. Come on. Members. I hate having so many menus. There we go. Members. And search for Sam. And I didn't want to do that. Let's see. Search any and go. Yeah, I don't see you signed up at. Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You are signed up. And let's see here.
View members' transactions. Doesn't look like you've been billed at all yet. Yeah, I see that, Sam. Since you're active. And that might be something that when I was still figuring all this out, I may have, because this shows it's a manual entry. We're not going to worry about, everybody was going to be free up until April 1st. Nobody was going to pay anything for March or April. After April 1st actually would have been the first billings. So right now you've only had a month for free. I'm going to all right, Sam, make sure that you're logged out. Make sure you're logged out of hobowithwood.com. If you're logged in now, log out. Or actually, I tell you what, if you just logged out, log back in. Go over to hobowithwood.com, log in, and go to that page that we were just talking about. When you go in, click on my account. And when you click on my account, click on subscriptions. Then when you click on subscriptions, you should see the prepaid that I gave everybody free for up to whatever, April or what have you. Then you should see your gold member monthly, grandfather gold monthly. But see, you, like as you pointed out, you've not actually been billed anything yet. But I'm thinking it's because I may have created up as a manual. So once you get logged in and you go to subscriptions, if you see grandfather gold, click cancel, because this will be another test for me to make sure that all of these functions are working correctly. Once you do that and you click on cancel, I'll go in and check and see that everything's working on this side, and then I'll make sure you've got the correct link that you can get signed up, and then can start with your support again. Well, Dale's asking about machine recommendations. Now, I'm not that guy as far as I'm not, when it comes to listening to anybody's reviews about products, I do trust Stephen Clack. Anything they talk about, Stephen Torrey or David Clack, they talk about particular products and recommendations. They give you an honest review. Most of the other folks out there telling you, oh, this is the greatest thing since cotton candy, they got a dog in that fight, and they ain't telling you the truth. They're telling you what they want you to go do and go buy so they can get paid off of what you're buying. I don't do reviews as a whole. I endorsed the Rolly wholeheartedly because it was a fantastic machine. And even after they closed and said they were no longer going to be in business,
And other content creators out there were already pushing the next best thing. They turned their back on Rolly like that. I was still continuing why supplies lasted, encouraging people go buy the Rolly. You won't be disappointed. With that said, if I had to buy a machine tomorrow, and I've not tested it, I have not had my hands on one, and I have not watched any reviews on it. But based on what I have dealt with this company, SaneSmart did the Cubico and the oh fudge, what's the little 10 watt that I got to do well, here we go over here. Their customer support has been phenomenal. When I have had a problem, they take care of it, no questions asked. Done. And they have some, the SaneSmart and Jinmitsu, the Cubico, and where are you at, baby doll? Let's go back up top here. Printers. No. Let's go to Jinmitsu. There we go. And laser engraving. The kiosk, that one. The kiosk has done a phenomenal job for me. And I bought one of those and even gave one of those away. And the same thing with the Cubico. But if you go and look at the Jinmitsu laser engraving, this right here looks like an impressive machine. It's a 2040 watt switchable instead of a 10 watt. I like the 10 watt, but that 20 watt and 40 watt switchable is pretty appealing too. And go away. But this is very reminiscent, go away, of the the Lasermatic, the Rolly Lasermatic. And like I said, it's got all of the accessories and everything built in with it, comes with it. And at $9.99 for a 2040 watt switchable, I would give that a try without hesitation. That if I had to go buy one tomorrow, that's the laser that I would go buy. And not because I've used it, but because I have used enough of the Jinmitsu and SaneSmart product to know that they build a quality piece. And if there's a problem, their customer service does not hesitate to get in touch with you and take care of the issue. And customer service is first and foremost for me. And that's what I loved about Leo and the almost immediate response to issues that were coming up. They would take care of it without hesitation. So I would buy that one with the anticipation that it was going to perform well for me. And if it didn't, then I know that the company's going to take care of it. Both needing parts. Yeah, I hate to hear that. A lot of these things are interchangeable, though. I forget who I was talking to the other day. It was Bob, I think. One of his limit switches went bad, and I was able to get with him and help him work through how to use the laser and never miss your limit switch. You don't limit switches are great, but you do not have to have limit switches to be able to produce repeatability as long as you're not shutting it down between jobs. Once you shut it down, you'd have to reset everything again without your limit switches, but it can be done. But I would give that one a shot if I needed to go buy a laser today. And at $9.99, and that's free shipping in the US, that's and I say it's a switchable. It says 20 watt option and a 40 watt option. Maybe it's not switchable because the 20 watt is $9.99, the 40 watt is $14.99. I would go with the 20 watt. I don't need 40 watt diode. Yeah, it doesn't look like, and I say that it was switchable, but maybe it's not switchable. But that's what I would go with regardless. And I'm going to go back to Sam here. Sam, come to Papa. There it is. A lot of people were covered by that. Most everybody is caught up on that. And let's see here. Bob. Come on. Search. Chicago Bob, you are current until January of 2027. So yes, you are paid and good to go until January 2027. It shows no, I sent you email because my debit card got used fraudulent, so it was not active. It shows no. So you don't. All right. Go. And I think I do remember a little bit of that now. Okay. There. And yeah. So since I set that up manual, and if you don't see that, it's probably because I set it up manually. So I'm going to confirm. All right. So now at this point, Sam, I've deleted that manual setup I've done. If you've got your debit card straightened out, just go in and use that link. If you've still got the link, use that link to sign up and use the card you want to use to go back into your support. If you don't have the link, just email me and I'll get it to you. The problem with a lot of reviews is they don't say what machine they are comparing it to when they say it's better or the best. Yeah. Yep. Same Smart and Genmitsu. Yeah. I like their customer service, and I've not had a problem with their products that they didn't address immediately. And there you go. Wayne says he has the Sane Smart L8 40 watt, and it's a good machine, but not up to Rolly standards. Hate to hear that, but I don't know that anything will ever be up to Rolly standards. Honestly, Leo was a special kind of guy. I think that's why the conveyor and a lot of other things that he had tried to develop and bring to market never saw the light of day because he could never get them to his standards. You missed a whole lot, Andy. You missed a whole lot. Patreon is still collecting. You'll just have to, I have no control over any of that. You just need to go on to Patreon and cancel your Patreon. Anything that you have done, I still get, but I would prefer that you stop doing Patreon because they've got their hands in the till. They're taking out a good chunk of that. But when you become a member on hobowithwood.com, I get 100% of it, and it's no longer a middleman. So they'll go over, log in on Patreon, and cancel your membership. I told everybody to do that in December and in January and in February. And that's why I had everything free on hobowithwood.com until April 1st. But yes, go cancel your membership and then come over to hobowithwood.com. You will, I even sent out special links for people who were pre-existing patrons to sign up at the old grandfathered pricing. So if you don't have those links, email me at hobowithwood@gmail.com and I will get you the appropriate link that you need. I will not do that. I won't tell you which one to buy. I'll tell you which one that I would buy. And only because I'm fortunate. I've got no problems with my Rolly. I've got the XW sitting here and it's not giving me any issues. And I've got one of the original Rollies over on the other table that was working fine that I mothballed until this one bites the dust. And I purchased 3 modules while they were still available, so that because that's the consumable, the module, I'm expecting it to go out. So I've got 3 modules so that when my module quits, I can put another one on, keep working. And I just pray that the control board and the limit switches and all that stays intact. And people talk about their control boards and all going out. Do not move your laser manually. Don't move that gantry by hand. If you have to move it by hand, move it slowly. If the power is turned off and you go and grab that gantry and you move that gantry back, you start to see that motor, that fan spin. You're sending power through the module, power through the control boards. And I think that's what can actually cause control boards to get shorted out or messed up. So if you don't be doing that, you minimize the chance of doing damage to your control board. Yeah. I've also seen or heard about content creators out there talking about how good that laser is and that they were personally involved in the development of that laser. Total lies. They had nothing to do with anything. They were never involved in anything at any point in any time. Johnny come lately, jumping on the bandwagon as soon as Rolly was gone. Let's talk about this one. This is going to be the greatest thing in the world. It's going to be better than the Rolly. But if Leo endorsed it and said he was impressed by it, hey, that's another thing. But it's hard to believe what a lot of the people out there tell you. When I log in, it says, please verify that you are a human. Yep. But it doesn't give me. Yeah. It is. There's something there. Let's see. Home. Log out. If you simply click log in to I think it might be the remember me button. And but I don't know. For first time users, it might be something that's there, but once you've actually created a profile in the membership, it's not so bad. But I know that there's also for first time when you're first setting up your membership, you also have an email verification that you have to receive in your email, then go and click on to verify your email before your membership will come active. But once you've done that once, then I don't think you see all those uh, security checks again. So it might have been something you did once and then you don't have to do it again. Been sick and injured since. Oh man, I hate that you've been sick and injured. I keep losing control boards. All right, are you one that's moving your gantry around by hand? Oh yes, he's definitely is. And when I say was, when I was speaking there, I meant Roly. You know, not speaking of Leo as in Roly. Roly was very special. Limit switches are fairly easily replaceable in most laser builds, and that's what I was thinking. A lot of these things are going to be interchangeable because when Leo was setting up and designing his masterpiece, he didn't go out and re-engineer every single cog and gear. He found limit switches that worked and were reliable and dependable, and that's what he brought in and used in his assembly process. So if you've got a limit switch that's failed, you should be able to pull that off and find a part number on there. And with a little bit of research and maybe even using the assistance of some of the AIs that are out there, find a replacement limit switch. Sending them an email does not count as helping develop. Yeah, well, tell them that. All right. So now you've had me here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're 45 minutes past what I was going after. But hey, we've answered some stuff and we got some stuff worked out. Bob, I'm guessing did you get to where you can see that? Log in. Home. Yeah, did you get to where you can see Mike? Nope, you didn't get it. But no, what you said you were using uh some kind of funky Firefox. Okay. See, Firefox might be your issue. If you have uh Google or Chrome, if you've got Chrome on your PC, open up a Chrome browser and log in and see if you see it. Log in from a different browser and see what happens. And Dale says, no, I used
I used to work on laser printers. I understand static electricity and generated. Yeah. I hate to hear that, you know. And Chris says he uses Firefox with several add-ons and extensions, and it's working for him. All right. And Steve says, I use Firefox, and as I recall, I had the same problem. Do not remember how I got it fixed. Well, that was helpful. But hey, he's acknowledging that he did have that problem, but he did figure out a way to get it work because he's got it working now with Firefox. You don't know why he did. That's okay. I can totally relate to that. Totally relate to it. Walk into the other room and come back and you don't remember what you did when you were just in here. So I can totally relate to not remembering. I'm glad that you found that funny. Some people don't like my sarcasm, but hey, you know what? That's who I am. Chris says, check. You have not got white on white background. Seen that before. Okay. Whew. All right. So I'm calling it. We are going off the air. Boys and girls, y'all have a good weekend. I'll try and get something new figured out. Something new and exciting for this upcoming week. I have no idea what yet, but we'll do something. As always, I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood, and we'll see you in the next one.